Throughout history, tales of rulers who possessed powers far beyond the understanding of ordinary mortals have captured the imagination of generations. Among these tales, few are as strange and unsettling as the stories of the Sorcerer Kings monarchs, who were not merely political figures, but were believed to wield dark, mysterious powers, blurring the lines between myth and reality. One of the most fascinating claims surrounding these enigmatic rulers is the notion that some of them could resurrect the dead, bending the laws of life and death to their will. Whether these tales arose from actual events, exaggerated legends, or pure mythological invention, they continue to fascinate historians, storytellers, and seekers of hidden truths to this day. 2. The idea of a king who could bring the dead back to life is as old as civilization itself. Across many cultures, the ruler was not only the supreme authority over the people, but was often considered a divine or semi-divine being, possessing unique access to the supernatural. In ancient Mesopotamia, for example, kings were thought to be chosen by the gods, and sometimes even descended from them. The Sumerian king Gilgamesh, whose epic story is one of the oldest pieces of literature ever discovered, embarks on a desperate quest to find the secret to immortality after confronting the death of his closest friend. His story reflects the deep cultural obsession with overcoming death and hints at the belief that some rulers might have held the keys to life itself. Similarly, in Egyptian mythology, the pharaohs were considered living gods, direct descendants of Ra, the sun god, and were believed to hold power in both the world of the living and the dead. The elaborate mummification rituals and the construction of monumental tombs such as the pyramids were not only acts of reverence, but were also intended to ensure that the pharaoh could transition smoothly into the afterlife, potentially maintaining influence even beyond the grave. Some legends suggested that powerful pharaohs, through secret rites and forbidden knowledge, could manipulate life forces, and perhaps even bring the dead back to serve them in this world or the next. Moving further east, tales from India speak of kings who sought the wisdom of ascetics and sorcerers, hoping to unlock hidden powers. In Hindu epics, there are references to rulers who possessed magical abilities granted to them by the gods. The boundary between king and magician was often blurred, with some monarchs rumored to practice necromancy, the dark art of communicating with or reanimating the dead. These stories were not limited to any one region or religion, but appeared wherever the thirst for power and the fear of mortality intersected. Perhaps one of the most chilling and mysterious accounts comes from medieval Europe. In the shadowy corners of history, whispers circulated of kings who consorted with alchemists and occultists, seeking forbidden knowledge to extend their reign. In the era of the Black Death, as death swept across the continent, rulers desperate to save their kingdoms turned to strange and dangerous practices. Some chroniclers wrote of monarchs who were rumored to have dabbled in necromancy, performing grim rituals in candlelit chambers, attempting to raise fallen soldiers or lost loved ones. These stories were often dismissed as the paranoid fantasies of a terrified population, yet they reveal a deep-seated belief that kings might access dark forces beyond the reach of ordinary men. One of the most famous and controversial figures associated with such claims is Vlad III, commonly known as Vlad the Impaler or Vlad Dracula. Though more widely remembered for his brutal tactics and the legend of vampirism that followed him, local folklore also whispered of his involvement with occult practices. Some tales claimed that he sought immortality through dark rituals, and though there is little concrete evidence, the merging of myth and reality around his life paints a picture of a ruler who was feared not only for his cruelty, but for the possibility that he had unlocked secrets best left untouched. Further north, In the frozen landscapes of Scandinavia, the sagas of the Viking Age also tell of kings and warlords who could command the dead. The Norse concept of Draugr, undead warriors who rose from their graves, often involved stories of powerful leaders who could summon these restless spirits to fight on their behalf. These accounts blurred the line between myth and reality, leaving historians to wonder how much of these tales were based on actual rituals and how much were symbolic reflections of the ruler's perceived might. Perhaps one of the most fascinating aspects of these stories is how they speak to a universal human fear: death's inevitability. The idea of a king with the power to resurrect the dead taps into our deepest anxieties and desires. In times of plague, war, or natural disaster, when death seemed inescapable, such tales offered a glimmer of hope, or perhaps a terrifying reminder of the lengths to which a ruler might go to hold on to power. Modern historians and archaeologists have tried to sift through the layers of myth and legend to determine if there is any truth to these claims. While there is no verified evidence that any king could literally bring the dead back to life, what they have uncovered is equally fascinating. Many royal courts employed magicians, astrologers, and alchemists, individuals who claimed to possess secret knowledge of the natural and supernatural worlds. Records from medieval Europe, the Middle East, and Asia are filled with references to royal patronage of such figures. Some of these individuals were early scientists, experimenting with medicines and chemical compounds, while others practiced forms of divination or ritual magic. The boundary between science and magic in these periods was not as clearly defined as it is today. For the common people, witnessing a king's magician performing seemingly impossible feats could easily be interpreted as proof that their ruler wielded supernatural power. Over time, as stories were passed down, embellished and retold, the image of the Sorcerer King who could control life and death took hold in the collective imagination. One cannot overlook the psychological and political role these stories played. A king, believed to have control over death itself, would inspire both awe and terror, solidifying his authority over his subjects. Even if no dead bodies were actually raised, the mere belief in such power could suppress rebellion and command absolute loyalty. Fear is a powerful tool, and the image of a ruler capable of summoning the dead was the ultimate symbol of untouchable dominance. In examining these legends, it becomes clear that they reveal more about the societies that produced them than about the kings themselves. The blending of myth, religion, and political propaganda created a potent narrative that transcended generations. Whether in the tombs of Egypt, the palaces of China, the castles of Europe, or the temples of India, the image of a king who could defy death embodied humanity's eternal struggle with mortality. As we look back on these stories today, they continue to captivate us, not because we believe them to be literal truth, but because they speak to something primal within us. The Sorcerer King is a figure who challenges the finality of death, who dares to step beyond the boundaries of life, and who reminds us that power, in its most extreme form, is inseparable from fear. Whether these kings truly practiced necromancy, or whether the stories surrounding them grew from rumor, one fact remains clear: their legends endure because they touch upon the deepest human desire, the hope that death is not the end, and that somewhere, somehow, there exists a force capable of reversing the inevitable.